Um, and now, pretty much, onto her policies. What is she? She is a social democrat, a democratic socialist. There's a small difference, but I think Christie's going to cover all that.
Yes.
So,
Okay. No, Scandinavia is not a country in our chat. That's funny. Scandinavia is an area, and they are doing equal of capitalism and socialism. Their capitalism is not unfettered. It is very regulated and taxed in a very wonderful marginal way. You know, everybody from this point of pay to this point of pay is this much, no matter how big you get. And then the next step and the next step. And that's just the way to do it. I think that they got us beat when it comes to just, commenting to things that are going on in the chat. I think that if anybody wants to look up, there is quite a few documentaries on Norway, on Finland, on Switzerland. They're kicking butt when it comes to human happiness and education and long life and health of people and the things that matter, those things. Just a few little things, like all the things that matter. Okay, so my humanist view on social democracy. I think that social democracy has to once again learn how to fight battles of the kind that social democracy has fought in the past. We are living in a society where the gap between the wealthy and the haves is widening so very rapidly. And it's not going to get smaller on its own. We have to work together. We are dealing with higher energy costs and higher food prices. And don't even get me started on the housing issues, whether it be homelessness or owning a home. It doesn't matter. There's so many issues. And later, there's the crisis, and there's the crisis as well of the relationship between the United States as an economy with the profound indebtedness in every direction and its relationship with China. We are at a crossroads. We are at a crossroads. That's so huge. And I think that history will look back at this time and see that we were at a crossroads. The crisis that we're going through now is not some minor crisis. It's a profound crisis that's going to change the structure of the global economy. And I think that the ideas of the last 25 years, neoconservative and neoliberal ideas of this period, are hopefully being thrown in the garbage heap of antiquated, unworthy, horrible ideas. These ideas are unworthy for an egalitarian society that I would like to live in. I think that we have to go forward into a new vision of what a more egalitarian society is going to look like. It's clearly got to be an environmentally sound society. It's also got to be a society that comes to terms with the energy problems.
roboting a little bit.
Come to term with them. We're roboting. Let's see.
That's better now.
Send a heart. That worked last time. Yeah, I don't know. I give the computer a heart and it works. Okay. We also have to figure out ways to get massively large pools of capital out of the hands of those who now control them and into more socially controlled systems. This could be through people who work in a plant. It could be through province or a municipality or a community or the federal government, or even through co-ops or all of the above. One of the great issues of the 21st century is going to be who controls these great pools of capital that exist in the world and are now in the fewer and fewer hands every single year. Because allowing the mobility for capital holders to simply say, to hell with you if you're going to have strong environmental laws, or to hell with you if you're going to demand that we actually pay workers a living wage. To hell with these regulations. We, the big capital holders, are going to go to another place, another country, another land where we can get away with these abuses. This is not viable for a 21st century egalitarian society. So, the future. Moving forward, socialism, well, it is A word that used to be a filthy, dirty commie word, especially here in the US. But now, with many young Americans completely strapped with debt and disenfranchised with mainstream media and politics, and everyone uncertain about their economic future, socialist ideas might just be a breath of fresh air. So what is this new political movement? And is social democracy even new? Why did I, an American citizen raised by a conservative family, choose to join DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America? Well, I've seen what the current system does to people and how much people are struggling. And things aren't getting better for the 99% of us. I have seen the wealthy get more wealthy, and I've seen the justice system hold two sets of laws, one system for the wealthy and another for everyday citizens like myself. I've seen much, much more as well. The DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, now has over 65,000 members, and nationwide they have 167 branches, a number that has surged since Bernie Sanders' presidential run in 2016. And unlike 2016, Democratic Socialist candidates are winning. They're winning all over the country. From national victories like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or what we call her, AOC, to Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, to races at all levels of our government, local, these grassroots movements, what they did, the DSA, was look at the Tea Party movement and how they did local everywhere, because they just needed to get people in, and they're following it to the T, and it is working. It is working. It's wonderful. It's enough to cause panic in both the GOP and within the Democratic Party, especially the corporate blue dog Dems, who prefer to keep the status quo. They're doing so well for themselves. Why would they want to change? Carlos Ramirez Rosa. I don't know if any of you have heard of him. He's quite a significant person. He's pretty awesome, and he's a huge humanist. He's the councilman and alderman, Chicago's 35th ward. He's also a Democratic Socialist. He won knowing that people were scared of what they do not understand. So he never talked about being a member of the DSA. It never came up. He talked about policy and what policies he would stand by. He talked about policies that people cared about and what he would do to help them. Sometimes, he said, people get confused by a label. So stand up to the big Brit polluters and corporations. And
you're a robot again.
Yeah. What about now?
But,
okay.
Yeah, it looks better now. I would like to say something on that though, real quick.
Go for it.
Because I think that's a really, really important point. Sometimes people get confused and scared of labels, right? And this is something I'm really, really, really happy that we're covering. Any form of socialism, because it too, like atheism, very much like atheism, is
absolutely
just fucking demonized to no end. And most people, like laymen, don't even fucking know what it means.
No, they think communism is the same as socialism. It's all the same to them. You're a commie. They're totally different, by the way.
Right. It's like, when you say you're an atheist, some people are like, oh, okay, so you like worship the devil?
Yep, I've heard that.
Hold on. Not quite. And I would like, and I know we're not just talking about pure socialism right now.
Right.
Can I take a second and just read the definition and why I want to read the definition?
Go for it.
Okay.
Right.
Socialism, for those of you who don't know, is a political and economic theory of social organization that advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole.
Right.
That does not mean government takeover. That does not mean totalitarianism. It means that people should own the government.
Right.
That means the community as a whole. That means the people. When I capitalize the people, I think socialism. Like that's what it's for. And we're for social democracy, right? So you add democracy in there, which is pretty much like you don't even kind of need to really, if you
Right.
actually go by what socialism's supposed to be. Every time it's gone wrong, it's because we've used bloodshed to get there. That's the
Yes.
problem. We use totalitarianism to reach socialism and force it on people. But if you use democracy because people want it, then it
Right.
has the ability to work.
Yeah.
Completely different means. So, yeah, there's that. There's that. I thought that was important because I've had a lot
It is.
of socialism fights on my Facebook
Right.
because
I'm
they
sure.
started. So, way to go,
I'm
Bernie.
sure. Okay,
Argument.
let's see. I'll just hit that little heart and make sure that we stay connected. Okay.
I love it.
He said that he was going to stand up to big corporate polluters and corporations that were too powerful in City Hall, and that he also said he was going to make sure that public dollars benefited the public schools, benefited the community, and that he would invest in after-school programs, job programs, mental health services, and expand Medicaid. He also stated that it wasn't until after he was elected on his own merits that he said, I am a democratic socialist. You see, people that want to tax the highest earners and people that want the international corporations to pay their fair share and people that want to protect immigrants and stand up for women's rights and workers' rights, well, these people are already voting in massive numbers for the Democratic Party candidates. So I say, let's actually give them what they really want. Let's give them democratic socialists to vote for, candidates that are actually going to deliver the policies that the Democratic Party should stand for, but falls so very short year after year after year. We should not be afraid to call out corporate Democrats if they take corporate funds. They are beholden to their donors. If candidates vow to take only donations from the people of this nation and the constituents that they will be representing, they are beholden only to these people, not corporations. The Democratic Party is very much tied to the establishment and the money interests. And in many cases, the Democratic Party are the establishment. The establishment Democrats are absolutely terrified of this movement and the DSA members themselves. Also, the Justice Democrats also are revolution candidates. They all have the power of the American people behind them. And all of these groups have vowed not to take a penny of corporate funding. All these inspiring young social Dems running for office and winning, it does feel like a new beginning and a new breath of fresh air. But is social democracy or socialist or democratic socialism even new to this country? Socialism in America and throughout the industrialized world first took root in trade unions and in a movement to protect and advance the rights of workers during the Industrial Revolution. It is as American as apple pie. Chicago was once the center of industrial revolution, and along with explosive growth and profits that come with that, came a whole lot of exploitations. People were working 16 plus hours a day, 7 days a week, living in horrid conditions, working in worse conditions. None of it was safe. People died at work all the time. When a movement called the 8-hour movement was started, this is socialism. That's what that is. 8 hours for work, 8 hours for sleep, and 8 hours to do with what you like was their slogan. Look up labor history, and just have fun reading. Open your mind to the facts of this movement by and for the workers, by and for the people. One of the most important and influential historical events of our last 100 years through this whole country, like this for labor movement, this particular labor history, it's not even spoke about really in our public schools. And that's That's the problem. That's why socialism and socialist democracy cannot grab a footing throughout history until now. This historical event is called the Haymarket Rally. That's another one. Also a workers' movement. The Haymarket Rally, or a fair, happened when a labor protest in support of the 8-hour workday turned violent, ultimately ending in the deaths of 4 activists. But this event was a tragedy in many, many other ways, not just the senseless deaths of the 4 humans that were fighting for human dignity. But it also set back the working class movement for a long while, using a classic propaganda move like the Red Scare. Red Scare tactics meant portraying socialist ideas as somehow foreign, un-American. Back in the day, calling for free health care, oh my gosh, you would get accused of being an agent of the Soviet Union. Are you kidding me? And the only good communist is a dead communist, or so the saying goes. Today, though, you will be accused of wanting to turn the United States into Venezuela. But how foreign is the concept of socialism? I'd like everybody to note a book by an author named John Nichols. The book is titled The S Word, A Short History of an American Tradition of Socialism. It's fantastic. America has always had a socialist or a social democratic presence, going back to our founding of the country. In the very first years of this republic, Thomas Paine wrote a pamphlet called The Agrarian Justice in 1797. So even before the word socialism was being used, we had people advocating, even our founding fathers, for solutions to problems that involved redistribution of wealth. In the 1890s through the start of the 1900s, America saw a great economic downturn right around 1893. But we also see the Gilded Age, the incredible inequality of this time. Socialism was a means of changing these massive inequalities. Socialist movements arose. In the 30s, we see a similar story, the Great Depression, of course, but also immense wealth surrounded by great poverty. And Roosevelt, Teddy, started talking about harsh disparities, as did other leaders here in this country. Socialist movements arose. And so, again and again throughout history, what we have seen are moments where economic turbulence and technological change, the combination of the two, has caused people to pause and say, hey, who's got an idea here? Who's got a solution for the circumstances that we are finding ourselves in today? And today, socialism is arising. The wealth is concentrated and not distributed properly. The power is concentrated and not distributed properly. It's not appropriate and it's not fair. We are oppressing huge amounts of some people while empowering others already at the top. Americans are hurting. People are not being able to have a place to live. Like I can't walk by a homeless person and not feel for that person, and I don't ever think, ugh, what did they do to get there? Ever. What an awful thing to think. People aren't being able to access health care. People are literally dying because their GoFundMe, there are many stories like this, to get their insulin fell $50 short. Or they tried to cut their medication supply down so low they ended up in the hospital. And who can pay for that when they don't have insurance? So it really is a matter of life and death for too many of our brothers and sisters. This is why I believe so much in what social democracy can do for the people of our nation. Democratic socialism is about treating others like human beings. It's humanist by its very nature, and respecting the struggles that everyday Americans are facing economically and trying to come up with answers to help the most people and to hurt no one. And I'm not talking about the bottom line of some multinational corporation. That's not hurting them. And I do see in the contemporary social democracy movement of right now, a lot of humanist policies and efforts humanist efforts, and they are working, and they are making my heart pound with so much happiness. I see a lot of young activists who are going out and making very practical connections with other people, and those people are making connections. You and I are making connections. We're doing this podcast. It's all in the name of helping our brothers and sisters, which in the very nature is social democracy. Let's keep this going. Let's keep doing this. And if we keep doing this, my spidey senses say that this movement is one here to last.